Welcome to Gifts in Strange Wrapping Paper, a podcast where we explore the transformative power of life's unexpected challenges. I'm your host, Kelly Getz, an intuitive educator and leadership coach. My journey into holistic practices began after our stillbirth of our second son in 2007. A profoundly devastating experience that I now lovingly refer to as a gift in strange wrapping paper. This pivotal moment revealed my life's purpose to teach and empower others to heal with grace, love, and gratitude, and to live their best lives now. Join me as we delve into the stories of resilience, healing, and personal growth, uncovering the hidden gifts within life's most challenging times. Welcome back. Today I wanted to talk to you about when you're having those difficult times in your life where there is grief, there is loss, maybe it's pain or fear from a diagnosis you weren't expecting. Maybe it's you've lost a job or a career opportunity that you weren't expecting and you're feeling a sense of grief. You might even compare and say, well, this is nothing compared to what my friend down the street is going through. It's still a loss. It's still important. Maybe you've had a breakup in a marriage or a relationship, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or a friend has left your life. Either they have physically moved or perhaps there was conflict and the two of you separated and you're feeling the heaviness of pain of not having that person in your life. Whatever it is, grief is grief. Loss is loss. And you might not be ready to see the gifts in strange wrapping paper. You might not be ready to see how this is going to serve you in the future. It's a really hard thing to know when you're going through something challenging. It's really hard to see the gifts in strange wrapping paper. I was blessed. I had spent 7 years working through beliefs and behaviors with my first mentors, Jeff and Sue Page, who I'll interview Sue at a later date. And I had the opportunity to slow things down and to really look at all the different ways that some of the things that had been trials and difficulties for me, some of those things had actually blessed me. And right now you might not be ready to see those gifts. If you're hurting or if you're in pain or if you've had a loss of life, somebody important to you, you're hurting. You're exactly where, on some level, you need to be so that you can care for yourself, love on yourself, have others love on you. So today we're talking a little bit about when people in your life that you're hoping are going to be the ones that show up for you, that call you, that ask you how you're doing. Maybe they disappear a little bit. I know that's happened to me. Maybe they can't handle the pain that you're in. Or maybe they're afraid if they say something wrong, they'll cause more pain, more hurt. So they avoid and they stay away. It has nothing to do with you. And then there's other people that show up that you least expected. People maybe you don't even know that well, that all of a sudden become these wonderful angels on earth to help you get through whatever this devastating thing is in your life. So many people are hurting right now in this time for so many different reasons. And so I just wanted to speak into that a little bit and speak into this season of winter where things feel like it's slow and sluggish and things aren't moving the way you'd like it to. At the end of this, I'm going to do a short little meditation and give you a tool to help you release some of those emotions. And for those that want more, I've also created a free, longer meditation, and we'll give you that in the show notes later. So let's get started. One of the best things about winter or going through a season of winter where you are experiencing a loss or you are experiencing some sort of wound or pain that causes you to slow down and reassess life, one of the best things about that is that because life slows down, there's fewer expectations of what you're supposed to do, where you're supposed to be. Perhaps even you stop scheduling appointments because you just simply don't want to go out. You don't want to be amongst people unless it's the right people, because you've already figured out early in the process that not everybody knows what to say, not everyone can listen, not everyone can really hear what your needs are and support you in those needs. So instead, perhaps you hide, you go within. There's something really great about going within. You can really connect into your own thoughts, your own ideas. Whereas this amazing time where you can slow down, if you're lucky, and you follow the rhythms of nature. Come spring, though, it's like you can feel it in the air, you can feel it in the sun, you can feel it in all the plants. It's like, hey, it's time to get going. And once spring gets going, you need to get going. Unless you're in a raw space because you've lost somebody important to you through the winter, in that case, you may not be getting going. You might still be hurting, still in winter, still going deep within, noticing everybody else is going on without you. I remember somebody saying to me early in my process, seemed like it was, I don't know, could have been 6 weeks, could have been longer, I don't even remember. What I do know is that I noticed that everybody else was moving on with their lives. The calls were fewer, the visits were fewer. We had stopped receiving meals, which was a good thing because we received meals for several weeks. Such generous neighbors helping us as we moved through. Our son was back into his routine. So routines were starting to happen. And I remember sitting there like just feeling like, oh my God, everybody's moving on without me. I was still hurting. And one of my friends, really great friend, I remember her saying to me, and it came across so sharp. It wasn't meant to be sharp, but it was very truthful. And what she said was, it's good that we're moving on. We have to move on. And at the time, I was like, ouch, that hurts. You're leaving me behind. And what I realized after I started thinking about it, why was it so great that they were moving on? Why was it good they were moving on? And I started to think about it, and I started thinking about, well, what wounds had she walked through? What wounds had other people in my life had walked through? Times where they had been really hurting from a loss of a parent or a challenging illness or maybe a job loss. And as I thought about it, I thought, she's right. If everybody stopped all at once because one of their loved ones was going through some sort of wound or some sort of trauma or some sort of distress, and if they completely stopped to be with that person that was hurting, then it would just rotate. We'd go from one person hurting to the next person hurting to the next person hurting, and you would never get to really enjoy the joy that also comes after a storm. And so I thought about it, and even though I didn't like it, everybody's moving on without me, what I did appreciate about it was she was right. If she stopped and sat in my pain for too long, then she would miss out on the times and the periods of life that she was having expansion and joy. So it was okay that she had to move on. That didn't mean she loved me less. It didn't mean that she didn't care. It didn't mean that she wasn't sensitive to the fact that I was still hurting. It just simply meant she had to go to work. She had to take care of her kid. She had to keep building her life. She had to keep going after her dreams and goals. And it wasn't her time to sit. It wasn't her time to sit in the pain. It was my time. Not only was it my time to sit in the pain, but it was my time to figure out how I was going to move through the pain how I was going to heal. And I think it's an important distinction that there's no one way to heal yourself. Everybody does it different. Everybody's journey through grief, loss, pain, wounds is different, and it's unique. No one gets to decide for you what it's supposed to look like. You have to decide, what do you need? Even that question of, what do you need to heal? It's a challenging question for most people. Most people know what they want, they don't want. Very few people know what they really do want. Then you throw the word in needs, and it gets even more blurry. What do I need? And when we're hurting, that what do we need can be really challenging and difficult to figure out. People are around you and they want to help you, and so they do what they think is the right thing to do, and maybe it's the right thing and maybe it's the wrong thing, but they are just doing their best to try to help you, heal you in your wound. When I had to let people know that I was going through this tremendous loss, one of my really dear neighbors who I love dearly, she's Italian, from a big Italian family, or a medium-sized Italian family, and she's like, I'm going to get cooking. She started cooking. Women do that so graciously and so quickly. It's like one of the first things that a woman will do is they'll start cooking. Not everybody is a cook, so the others might send, flowers or cards or whatever, but they tend to gather. They tend to, let's send meals. What can we do? What can we do to help that person go through this difficult time? So now I got neighbors that are cooking food, and I've got neighbors that are like, let me take your kid for you. Let me take care of your son so that you can be in your process and he can be a kid and play. Let me get your son to school. So they start looking at the basics. It's that root chakra. It's that survival type of need. You need food. You need rest. You need quiet in your home. Your kid needs to get to school. Your kid needs to be entertained. Your kid needs things that will keep him occupied while you're distracted with the pain that you're going through. So all of my neighbors and friends, they started taking care of the basic necessities for survival. Food, quiet, home, relaxing, anything they could think of. It was like this force, this army of support that just surrounded me. I didn't even know what I needed. I didn't even know what I needed to ask for. I didn't know what grief was. I didn't really experience it. Sure, I had lost friends along the way. Sure, I had broken up with boyfriends along the way, but it's pretty different. You do go through a grieving process anytime you let go of a job, you move, you let go of a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a relationship, a friendship. There is grief in that, no doubt about it. And depending on how close you were to that boyfriend, that girlfriend, that friend, that relationship, depending on how close you were to them, how intertwined you were with them, how important they were to your future dreams, will discern or decide how deep the wound is, how deep the grief is that you have to walk through. Loss of life, though, is a completely different thing. There is no, hey, we've broken up for a time, we've separated for a time, maybe we'll get back together, maybe we won't. Maybe I'll meet somebody even better, but I'll know that you're alive and you're well, and at some point in time I can reach out to you when the time's right. When it's permanent, though, it can be so much harder. And I don't want to minimize a breakup, and I don't want to minimize a job loss, and I certainly don't want to minimize having to move across country or to another location for a job or to help a sick family member. I certainly don't want to minimize that, because I've done the living grief where you've watched a loved one be sick for several years. Those things are hard too. Those things are painful. Grief is grief. I've learned from a lot of different people that were grieving and they were in their pain. And one of the things I learned from myself and one of the things I learned from other people is that we don't get to sideswipe the grief. You have to walk through it. You have to feel it to heal it. You have to acknowledge that it's there. You have to embrace it. You have to listen to what it's telling you. Perhaps it's unresolved concerns or unspoken words. Or perhaps it's just maybe you took somebody for granted. Maybe you didn't speak up or say what you needed to say because it was difficult or challenging and you don't have closure. There's so many different beliefs and behaviors that can get intertwined with that process of grief. What I know for sure, though, is everybody's process is unique to them. And if we give ourselves just a little extra time to sit with ourselves and to ask the question, what do I need? What do I need? You could also ask, what do I want? What do I need? What do I want? When we are so in our heads and we're asking the question of what do I need? What do I want? From our headspace, sometimes it can get really blurry really quick. We can get a to-do list that's longer than anything. More often than not, though, if we drop into our heart, we just ask our heart, what do I need? What do I want? And really, a need versus a want, they're really two different things. A need is something that you really need from a place of survival. I need food, I need water, I need rest, I need exercise. I need to sit with people I care about, share my stories. I need quiet. For those of you that are more introverted. I'm extremely extroverted, so what I needed to do was get the thoughts out of my head. I needed to share my memories in the hospital. I needed to share my stories. I needed to share my pictures. I needed to talk about all the little details and get it out of my head. For somebody that's more introverted, they might need to write. They might need to meditate. They might need to be quiet with themselves. Everybody's different. Asking yourself every day, every moment, what do I need? And really paying attention, because sometimes the needs won't make sense, but it's something that you need, you long for. I need you to, might be just, I need someone to sit and hold my hand. I need a hug. I need one of those long, sinking hugs, not the short pat on the back hugs, which sometimes can be unfulfilling. Perhaps for me, not for you. Maybe it's, I need a walk. I need to go step into nature. Nature being one of the most powerful forces there is. Maybe I need to listen to something inspirational. Like for me, one of the first things I did when I came home from the hospital is there was a movie that I had seen. It was called Facing the Giants. And there was something about the story and that I just saw hope in. I saw, okay, things are going to get really, really low and it's going to be really, really painful and you're not going to know where the light at the end of the tunnel is. But if you just stay strong in your belief and your faith and focus on things will get better, and you focus every day on things will get better, I will feel better, I will heal with grace and gratitude, whatever it is for you, if you focus there, it may be slow, it may have setbacks, at times it may be steady, at other times it may seem like a huge step back, where you're still in the same pain at the same level. It may be the same, or perhaps it's shifted and it's just a setback. hard to know. I often think that when we are going through a healing journey, whatever that is, whether it's, facing a struggle in your life, when you make a conscious choice that you're going to heal, when you make a conscious choice that you're going to grow, and I think everybody has an internal need to grow. Everybody has a need for purpose. Everybody has a need for contribution. Everyone wants to know that their lives matter, that they matter. Everybody needs that love and connection. Everybody needs to feel important and significant. Everybody likes a little variety and a little fun. Perhaps we do variety and fun differently, but everybody needs it on some level. And when we are consciously going after all of the various needs and wants, to me, it's like we are walking up a mountain. And, many of our mountains are huge, but if I were to imagine this huge mountain where I could just walk around the mountain, slowly climbing or slowly traversing up the mountain, there might be times that I stumble and I fall back, but we're really never at the starting point again. In fact, from the time that we grow from being a kid and we grow into adulthood, we're really never at that starting point. And sometimes it feels like we can get stuck in a rut. And as we're climbing the mountain, sometimes we can feel like we're stuck in the rut and we're not getting up the hill. And yet we're never really going back to the beginning. Because every single day that we take a step forward and every single day that we learn, that we grow, that we evolve, that we face our fears, that we step forward even though we're hurting, even though we're sad, every single day that we step forward, even if it's a baby step, and I think those baby steps are actually the most critical steps we can take, because the baby step is what gives us a new perspective. That baby step, that first step, often is the crossing the line from fear to excitement, or from sadness and grief to maybe a little peace. Those baby steps, one right after the other, is actually what allows us to keep moving forward, even if you have a setback. Often those setbacks are simply a setup for something bigger, something better. So today, I'm completely distracted in all the little details, all the ways that I need to step forward, keep my health in line, take care of my teenager, take care of the needs of our family and our husband, taking care of all the little details that distract me from other things I want to do, be, and create. Equally important, though, my relationship with my daughter, my relationship with my husband, our family, equally important to us, what I want to create, what I want to do. We also have a son who's finishing up his 4th year in engineering at Purdue University and beginning his master's program. All those relationships that we have in our life, each one needing to be nurtured, each one needing to be loved, each one needing to be cared for, also important. There will be times that you will want to stay stuck. Part of you won't want to move forward because the fear or the pain is too great to move forward. A part of you will just want to be in a holding pattern. And that's okay. Sometimes we need to be in a holding pattern. What you have to decide is, how long is being in that holding pattern long enough? How long do you want to sit and watch life continue on? How long Is it necessary to sit in your pain before you break free, before you look for peace and hope and joy, love? Only you can decide. Nobody can do it for you. Every day, life is moving. And if you live with a family, if you have a family, they're waiting for you to get in the game with them. They want to fix it. They want to make you feel better, and they can't always fix it or make it feel better. Only you can do that for you. Sure, other people will show up. They might bring you flowers. They might bring you meals. They might take care of important errands for you, take care of your children. And that'll be helpful, and it'll help, and it'll help you feel better, and you'll see a glimmer of light. But at some point, you have to redefine your experience to give it a purpose and a meaning, to have made it matter. Some people never do. One of the best things that I did was creating a different meaning for my experience. It didn't mean I didn't hurt. It didn't mean I wasn't in pain. It didn't mean I had the lowest of low days. What it meant is it gave me something different to focus on. What it meant was it gave me another opportunity to walk forward. Well, not in a straight line. It was more of a curvy path. Sometimes the path seemed like it was going backwards, and then it would go forwards, and then it would go backwards again. Kind of like walking through the woods. When you follow the terrain of, hills and valleys and stuff, when you follow the terrain, sometimes you really are going backwards. But I was still moving forward on the path, just by giving it a different meaning. If the meaning was something that was not propelling or moving forward, then I could have easily gotten stuck. But if the meaning was, what can I be grateful in all this? What can I learn from all this? What am I learning from this? How is this growing me? How is this going to evolve me? I didn't know where I was going to end up, but it was a lot more hopeful than thinking that building my family was done, I was done. I guess that's all I want to say about that right now. So what I'd like to do is I want to guide you through a tool, a technique that is one of my favorite things to do for myself. And I wish I would have had this when I was going through my devastating loss. And in a way, we've all had this tool as part of us because it's something we instinctually do, except when we do it, we don't do it as long as we need to do it. And that's working with points on your head that are called neurovascular points. They have become a favorite piece of wisdom that I learned from Donna Eden as part of my advanced training with Donna Eden and as part of being a faculty instructor for Donna. One of the things that I love to do that I find so easy and I love to give to my clients and students when they're going through hardship is to work with the points on their head, the neurovascular points. And these points connect into the meridian system, and you don't even need to know anything about the meridian system, where these points are located, or even how to activate them because we do it so naturally. So what I'd like you to do right now, if you're driving or if you're walking, this is really not the thing to do when you're driving or walking, although you can easily put your hand on your forehead at any point in time when you're driving or walking and you'll be fine. But if you really want to sink in and help release some of the emotions of grief, you might find that tears come up. You might find that emotions come up. You might find that in this process you get really relaxed. So it might be worthwhile if you're driving just to pull over and just take a few minutes. It won't be long. It's going to be short. So what I'd like you to do is just, if you've gotten yourself settled in a place, is just, take your left and your right hand and just rub them gently next to each other. Create a little friction, a little warmth between your hands. And all we're really doing is we're just kind of getting some energy moving in our hands. Whether you believe in the concept of energy or not, our hands work like magnets. They're practical. And if you think back to when you were a little kid, or if you have a little kid, or if you have a grandchild, when they're hurting, when they're struggling, we instinctually will stroke one another's hair, and we'll stroke it back around the ears. And there's a calming effect that happens when we stroke somebody's hair. Oftentimes my daughter, when she was little, and had really learned about being a practitioner as a result of wanting to bring her into the world, I would stroke her hair back and she would fall off to sleep. So what I'm going to have you do, and I'm going to just have you take your left hand, and it really doesn't matter. It could be left or it could be right. There's no right or wrong. And you're just going to place your left hand gently on your forehead as if you were checking your own body temperature, or how you would check somebody else's body temperature. You would just gently lay your hand on their forehead. And our hand's making a connection to these two amazing points on our forehead called the oh my God points. They're also grazing for some of us that have hair. For those that don't, trust me, it's still there. There's some points along the hairline that connect to the liver meridian. And the liver organ, as a matter of fact, it releases all the toxicities. It does 700 to 800 different jobs. So we're just going to put our hand there. And even though we're not checking our temperature, we're just resting it gently, helping our body to let go of things that are no longer needed. And then with your right hand, I just want you to place it on top of your head. And on top of your head, there's multiple neurovascular points for multiple meridians. One of which, though, is for the metal rhythm. And the metal rhythm, it's, in terms of seasons, it's late autumn. It's about letting go before we go into the water season of creating new life. And so just gently placing your hand on top of your head, you might realize and notice that, wow, there's also where that soft spot on a baby's head would be. And we're just laying our palm gently, just as gently as we're laying it on top of our forehead. And from here, we're just going to allow ourselves to connect in to the emotion of grief, sadness, whatever it is for you that's causing you to feel sad or grief, a sense of loss, places in your life that you're having a hard time letting go of. And as you're holding your head, you might notice, like for me right now, my head's actually getting a cooling sensation. I'm noticing that more on the top of my head. You might be noticing something different. You might notice that one hand is connecting and has more of a sensation. It might be warm. Some of you might feel pulsing. Some of you might feel nothing. And if you're feeling nothing, that doesn't mean that it's not working. It just means that maybe your body's not used to you touching your forehead and the top of your head for this length of time, and maybe you just haven't connected to it yet. Many of my clients and students will tell me, wow, at first I felt nothing, and now it's amazing how much I can feel the energy of my body moving because they've reminded their energy that they're there for it and that they're there to support it. It's just repetition, that's all it is. And while we're connecting with our forehead and we're connecting to the top of the head, just trusting that we're supporting our body to let go of any sadness and grief that we no longer need. And just taking a nice deep breath in as we breathe in and then out. Each time we breathe out, just letting go. Now, even if you're not feeling a warmth or a pulsing, you might be just noticing that your thoughts are calmer. You might be noticing that you're calmer. Some of you may be crying. You might have tears flowing. That's good. I like to joke with one of my friends that it's better out than in. Let those tears flow. Let those tears flow for whatever it is that's causing you pain, causing you a sense of loss and sadness. Just letting it go every time we breathe out. You might realize that, wow, I've seen people putting their hands on their forehead before. Oftentimes you see students when they're taking a test, they'll have their hand on their forehead. Or when someone gets bad news, they might put their hand on their forehead or the top of the head. It's intuitive, it's instinctual. You may not even realize when you're doing it. The only difference now is we're taking a little bit more time, giving the body, giving your energies just a little bit more time to let go. So often people do this for 2 or 3 seconds. Pay attention, you'll see it. And as we just relax a little bit more, noticing we're a little calmer. And yes, for those wondering, can I switch hands? Absolutely. We always want you to be comfortable. You can even do this particular thing if you're having a hard time going to sleep at night. It'll help you let go of the day. And now I'd like to just invite the other side of grief, which is inspiration. For those of you that have a strong spiritual connection or faith, connecting to that spiritual connection you have, connecting to your faith. And if you don't, that's okay too. It still works. Connect to anything that inspires you. Maybe you open your eyes and notice the sun is shining bright, letting you know it's a new day. Spring's around the corner. Just breathing into the possibility of what inspires you. And if nothing comes to mind right now, you might connect back to something from your past where you felt inspired. It was a song or it was a play or a movie, something that inspired you. It's the energy of inspiration that can move us from grief and loss into possibilities, inspiration. So remembering something that inspired you. And if it's a mentor or a teacher you're looking for to be inspired about, just inviting, asking the universe, source, your higher self, whatever it is for you, God, whatever it is. Just asking, bring that messenger, bring that teacher forward for me. And just take another deep breath in and out. And every time you breathe out along your day today, know that you are letting go of something that you no longer need. And if you need a little support, you can come back and place your hand on your forehead and your other hand on top of your head and just support yourself. It might even be you forgot what you were looking for in your room and just put your hand on your forehead, take a few breaths, letting go of the thought of, oh, I forgot what I needed, and you'll be surprised. As you breathe in, within a minute or so, you'll be like, oh, I know why I'm here. And just remembering that I am sending you infinite love and gratitude on your day. Life is happening for you. And even if you don't see it now, someday in the future, when you least expect it, you'll think back to this difficult time, and you'll see how far you've grown and how much stronger you are. And you'll discover your gift. It simply came in a strange wrapping paper. Have a beautiful day.